All right, guys, we've just seen the final face-off and the weigh-ins for Rolly Romero versus Teofimo Lopez going down tomorrow, and a very intense stare down. These two sending daggers into each other's eyes, and I think it speaks a lot for this fight. I think it has put a little bit more energy, a little bit more emphasis on this fight, because coming into this fight, not just recently, but since it was announced, the question marks were, how are these two guys actually going to fight if they're friends? Is the spite going to be there? Is that nastiness? Is that want to actually hurt your friend going to be there? And that was the biggest question mark, was how are you not going to take it easy? How are you not going to show mercy to your opponent? And I think we saw today that when it's fight week, when it's fight day, the switch is flicked and they're in business mode. They are in there to do the job. And look, I think it speaks volumes for their character, because we see other fighters, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, two fighters that we want to see have a fight and say, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it because we're too good of friends. Where these two guys are saying, we can have both. We can have both. We can have business and we can have friendship. And we're going to be friends before the fight. We're going to be friends after the fight. And we see that intensity, that nastiness today at the weigh-in. Yeah, it's got me excited for what we're going to see in the ring. But I want to have my last few takes on this fight, on the weight, and ultimately who I think is going to win it. Has my opinion changed? We're going to get into it. But for Teofimo Lopez, weighing in the heavier fighter today, I think that would have caught a lot of people by surprise, not only because he's the guy moving up, but you see Rolly Romero on the scale, how good he looks, the muscle mass on him. Like, Rolly Romero looks unbelievable at welterweight. The fact that he was killing himself to go in those lower weight categories, I think just showing seeing the true Rolly actually show up now. All right, and you saw that against Ryan Garcia. You see that in just how his body and his physique looks. But realistically, the talking point is Teofimo Lopez. How is he going to adjust? How does he look? And Teofimo Lopez probably doesn't look as good as Rolly Romero, but each body shape is different. Lots of people are surprised that he came in the heavier fighter. Now, when I look at a guy that's moving up and he comes in the heavier, there's a few things there. All right, number one, it could be, fuck, he must have been killing himself to make the lower weight category. This is him just, growing into what he should be. This is him just filling out into what he should be. Or it's a bit of overcompensation. What I mean by that is he might have felt comfortable at 145.5 pounds. He might have said, fuck, I feel good, ready for this fight. But he's looking at it and saying, Rolly Romero is going to weigh in 147 pounds, add on another 15 pounds by the time he rehydrates. Am I actually going to be big enough to take this guy on? Am I going to be able to take the power that he's going to be outputting? Am I going to be able to put out enough power? So even though I feel comfortable at 145, I really want to push the boundaries. Let's add another few pounds. And that's just overcompensation. It can work two ways. It can work the way you want it, or it can make you a bit slow, a bit sluggish because you are a little bit overweight. We're going to have to wait and see. You're not going to know that till fight day. He doesn't look fat. Look, he looks very, very good at this weight. Not as good as Rolly, but still very, very good. Teofimo Lopez. A lot comes down to this weight for me. I think people underestimate the jump from super light to welterweight. I think it can catch a lot of people out. Some people excel. You look at Devin Haney. Devin Haney excelled when he moved up. All right. So did Rolly Romero. But some people falter on their first go. I keep saying it. Liam Pyro, on his first move up from super light to welterweight, was caught out against David Poppo. And David Poppo is not a big hitter. So for Teofimo Lopez, he's not only moving up into a new weight category, but he's moving up into a new weight category against a hitter. All right, Rolly Romero is a hitter. And I've been seeing this clip. I did want to bring this up. I've been seeing this clip going around of footage from Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero sparring, and how it sort of was reflected in the fight when they fought last year. And I says, all right, we've all seen the Teofimo Lopez versus Rolly Romero sparring footage. If you haven't seen it...
Now is the perfect time to see your chest, baby.
Stop it. Rolly Romero gets absolutely battered. All right. And I think lots of people look at it and say, all right, that was a few years ago. Rolly Romero was only a few years in the sport. All right. But at the same time, both of them are going to grow. Both of them are going to become better. Teofimo Lopez could still do that to Rolly. But my mind was, all right, so we saw what Rolly Romero was able to do well in sparring against Garcia, and then he was able to do it once again all these years later in the fight. Was there something in there that I saw Rolly Romero do that he can put into this fight against Teofimo Lopez? And although he's getting battered, the keen-eyed viewers will see a left hook that lands. a counter left hook on the back foot that lands on Teofimo Lopez. And I think that is a shot that most definitely can land in this fight. We haven't really seen up until this point a clean left hook land on Teofimo Lopez. Well, not very often. Most of the punches, that has landed on Teofimo Lopez have actually been right hands. George Kambosos Jr., Sandor Martin. All right, most of them have been counter right hands or drawn onto a check right hook from Sandor Martin. There hasn't been too many left hooks that have landed on Teofimo Lopez. But with Teofimo Lopez and the way that Rolly Romero has been fighting, the way Rolly Romero fought Tank Davis, very, very back foot heavy, countering on Tank Davis, I think he can do the same thing to Teofimo Lopez. He's got Salas in the corner. Salas is a very, very good technical coach. He'll teach him that patience. You saw how patient he was against Ryan Garcia, and he was able to land that counter left hook against Garcia. He was able to land counters against Tank Davis, and I believe that you can land counters against Teofimo Lopez. We talked about this in the preview and the breakdown. You can land plenty of counters on Teofimo Lopez. We've seen it. Like I said, George Kambosos Jr. dropped him in the first round with a counter. There's going to be opportunities there. It'll be whether Rolly Romero is quick enough to do it, whether Rolly Romero is smart enough to do it. That is ultimately the question, because Teofimo Lopez, I think his defense is so underrated. He's a bigger guy. He might not be as quick now. That could be an opportunity to land it, or it could be just as quick now, just a little bit heavier. All right, and that's the biggest issue for Rolly Romero. The other thing is Teofimo Lopez also likes to counterpunch. You launch yourself in, you're going to get caught by Teofimo Lopez. So it is such an interesting fight, but I did want to talk about that because I did think, what did we see when these two guys sparred that he might be able to put into this fight? And for me, that is the big one. That is the big one. It is the counter shot that he might be able to land. He's landed it before. He is very, very dynamic, Rolly Romero, all right? He's not got, Lomachenko footwork, all right? Nobody thinks that, all right? He's not got the brains for it either, but he's got an athletic body. All right, he's got an athletic body and he's got the ability to get in quick and throw the punch quick with a lot of power. And that is a problem for any fighter, especially one in Teofimo Lopez's case that is moving up to a new division against the first real big hitter of his career. Nobody that Teofimo Lopez has fought is a big hitter, and he's been dropped multiple times. All right, he got battered by Shakur, not a hitter. He got dropped by George Kambosos, not a hitter. He got dropped by Sandor Martin, not a hitter. All right, Richard Comey is the only hitter in the resume of Teofimo Lopez. So you take that into note, and these were guys at, lower divisions. We're now at welterweight. If Rolly Romero lands that punch, it is lights out. It is night over. Very, very realistically. I don't know whether he knocks him out with one punch. Teofimo Lopez has gotten up off the floor multiple times before, so it wouldn't be a first for him. But it's what comes after that. All right? It is, can he take that punch? Because Rolly Romero, welterweight, hits fucking hard. And if he lands one of those counter left hooks, it could be night over. Look, ultimately, how I see this fight going, Teofimo Lopez's biggest problem for me is the weight. If he can absorb the power punches from Rolly Romero, if he doesn't look slow, it's Teo's to lose. And I said this in my breakdown, and my prediction is still the same. It is a UD victory for Teofimo Lopez. Rolly Romero only wins this by a one-punch quitter. I think he's got to land that shot, and he's got to land it early. The longer this fight goes, that Teofimo Lopez grows in confidence, starts feeling himself, starts doing the normal, confident, ego-type boxing that Teofimo Lopez is so, so good at, it's Teo's to lose. It is ultimately Teo's to lose because he is by far the better technical and skilled boxer than what Rolly Romero is, and I think we forget that Teofimo Lopez also has power. I think we forget Teofimo Lopez, when he's on, when he's feeling good, when things are going his way, he can land punches and he can land power punches and he can throw them from awkward angles that Rolly Romero will not see coming. And I think when you talk about that sparring footage, because I think some people underplay it, I think the fact that you look at how good Teofimo Lopez looks against Rolly Romero all those years ago, and some people say, well, Rolly Romero is only new. He's grown since then. Well, guess what? Teofimo Lopez hasn't stood still either. And I think what you see in that sparring footage, Teofimo Lopez could very, very well do in this fight. I think Rolly Romero will be outworked by him, and I think he'll just be outmatched technically and skill-wise from Teofimo Lopez. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of the weigh-ins? What do you think of the face-off? And ultimately, what do you think of the fight? Like, subscribe. I'm out here, guys. See ya!